What's going on, guys? K-Pine here and welcome back. And in this video, I'll be featuring the team that got me to expert in the Color Cup: Charjabug Lead, Credilli Safe Swap, and Gastrodon Closer. With Toxapex being everywhere, I really wanted to be prepared for it by being strong in the lead as well as in the back, because if you're not prepared for it, it's just going to run through your team. So that essentially was the inspiration behind this team I made. Plus, Charjabug is a fantastic lead and has the ability to core break some opponents. Credilli on the safe swap is extremely strong, only not able to get shield advantage or switch against a couple things. And those Mons are strong into Gastro as well, so Dilly's the perfect bait out to free Gastro up. This team has been extremely consistent for me, shown by the back-to-back 4-1 sets, which got me to expert rank that you'll be seeing in this video. And with that, let's get right into the battles. Alright, getting to the first battle, we lead Charjabug into Golisopod. Fantastic lead for us. We don't necessarily need to maintain alignment just because if we get Credilli on it later, we do have access to the super effective rock slides, but we want to keep Charjabug on it. And my opponent swapping into a Shadow Typhlosion is perfect. That Shadow Blast Spring does a lot of damage even though it's resisted, but it's perfect. I can just no shield it and farm all the way down. But say I swap my Gastrodon into something and I'm able to get shield advantage but not switch, that's fine, because again, Credilli has access to the rock slide. But if I counter swap Credilli into something, then I need to make sure I maintain switch advantage just because of how bad of a matchup Gastrodon has into the Golisopod. Here my opponent does catch a rock slide onto their goalie, but that's exactly what we're going to throw anyways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just build back up, bank that rock slide, swap into my Charjabug, and then go for the little Volt Switch down. They throw a Razor Shell at me. I don't know what to say about that, but regardless, if they threw a Liquidation or an Aerial Ace of some sort, it's not going to matter. I still had this match won. It does allow me to tank that Shadow Rock Slide, but realistically, I would have given up just one of my two shields there, got off both of those X Scissors, and then same outcome either way. As my opponent does go for the Grass Knot on the CMP tie. Rock Slide goes through, gets their final shield, and then my opponent does concede. GG's. Next battle, Charjabug into Gastrodon. Terrible lead, gonna safe swap into that Credilli right away. See what my opponent does. They stay in 2 Bullet Seeds and then they bring in a Tentacruel. So we're going to go for this Grass Knot. Now the interesting thing about the Tentacruel safe swap is Credilli does win the 0 shield scenario against it, which is very nice. If your opponent gives up a shield, you'll come in with Charjabug and get a lot of farm. My opponent ends up going for an Acid Spray here. Normally they'll go straight Scald, so I'd count on that a little bit better. But like I was saying, Credilli does win the 0s straight Grass Knot against Tentacruel. However, if your opponent gets a Scald debuff on the first Scald that they throw, Credilli will no longer win the 0s. So you're going to want to go for a Grass Knot, then they go for a Scald. Say they do get that debuff, you're going to want to go for 2 Rock Slides after, not another Grass Knot, because they will have to, if you go for... try and go for a 3rd Grass Knot, because like I said, the second one won't KO, you won't reach it. You'll get farmed down in that time. So you throw that Grass Knot, they go for the Scald, you see that debuff, go for your second move as a rock slide and then your third move as a rock slide to force them to waste energy. Otherwise, you will take them out or get switch. Just something to keep in mind for that matchup. Now in this one, I have my Gastrodon on the jump off, absolutely miserable. My only chance at a win con there was to try and stall out the switch clock long enough to make a catch, but you know, we're not able to do that, so my opponent takes it. GG's. Next battle, Charjabug into Shadow Alolan Golem. Terrible lead, atrocious lead. We're gonna swap into that Credilli right away, and my opponent's gonna stay in. Looks like they're gonna go for a little bit of a wild charge and then dip. And if it's a Shadow Alolan Golem and they go for that wild charge, you're gonna want to give up a shield to it just because of how hard it hits. If it's a regular, you don't really need to. But my opponent makes a crazy Rock Blast bait, which that just is a wild bait to me because wild charge is resisted. Like, I already have incentive not to shield it due to that. I don't know. Either way, we do get baited there on the shield, and they bring in a jump bluff, and that's perfect because Credilli has baited out the jump bluff, so my Gastrodon doesn't have to see it. That's amazing. Rock Slide coming through from the Credilli does get their first shield. And now, if I throw an extra Bullet Seed there, they all outpace me to the move. So I decide to throw it right away. I know it's bad timing, but I wanted to force their final shield as well as get off that move before they had to force it from me. Because that gives me the opportunity to now no shield the move from my opponent, get a bunch of farm on Charjabug, and threaten that Alolan Golem when it comes back in. But my opponent hard swaps into Golem. It gets absolutely deleted by those mud slaps. They don't even reach a move. And now we're in the driver's seat, especially with how low the jump bluff is. So one mud slap from the body slam for good timing. It does just KO. They have a Decidueye in back, and this is just going to be game over. As I will land a double resisted body slam. But again, I have one shield left and healthy Charjabug, so there's not much my opponent can do here. I do make it to this Earth Power, which is very nice chip damage, to where I can then swap in my Charjabug and get the Volt Switch down. We do give up a shield. It is a Spirit Shackle, and my opponent concedes. GG's. Next battle, we lead Charjabug into Charizard, Shadow Charizard. Now, good lead for us if they're on Dragon Breath, neutral lead if they are on Fire Spin. Because they're swapping out that quickly, I'd assume they're on Fire Spin. And they swap into a Talonflame, of which ABA Fire is an insane line here, especially due to the fact that literally just last match, we queued into a Shadow Alolan Golem lead. This opponent would get torn to shreds by it. They go for a fly. We're staying in this matchup, kind of the same thing against a Talonflame lead. You want to stay in with your Charjabug in the lead, get both shields, and then pivot on out of there. Here, since I do have both shields, that Shadow Charizard's as good as dead. So I'm just going to leave it up to my Credilli to win this. I was going for the Earth Power there for the extra damage, and I end up not getting it and losing out on Body Slam. But realistically, it doesn't matter, because whether I get the Body Slam's worth of damage or not, because this Rock Slide is going to one-shot it anyways. So I will give up a shield to the potential Blast Burn. Is only a Dragon Claw bait, overfarm as much as possible, take out the Charizard, and I'm going to see what my opponent has it back. They have a Shadow Quagsire, and I'm just going to keep overfarming here. I need to just get to back-to-back moves, one to take out the Quagsire and one to take out the Talonflame, and this game's over. Just need to make sure my opponent doesn't catch. They swap right away. A little bit of an interesting play, maybe predicting I would throw right away, but I did not. I'm patient. We're at the back-to-back moves now. Rock Slide takes out the Talon, and Grass Knot does take out the Quagsire. GG's. Next battle, we have Charjabug into Toxapex. Fantastic lead. As you know, we have the Charjabug on the lead and we have the Gastrodon in the back. So if they do swap out of a Toxapex lead, you're more than welcome to swap out as well if you have like an overwhelmingly good matchup. Like a Credilli is fantastic into like a Mudboy they swap into or something else like that. But you could also very well just stay in with your Charjabug. I do recommend like maintaining switch advantage though, in that case, just so you can put your Gastrodon on the Toxapex for the amazing matchup you have there. My opponent just decides to stay in. I do give up a shield to the Sludge Wave, knowing that if they're staying in against a Charjabug lead, then they're probably ABA weak to the Charjabug in the back, so I do want to keep it healthy, which is, again, is why I shielded that move. Now they come in with a Credilli. X's are super effective damage, but doesn't one-shot it. And I have a ton of energy on my Charjabug I don't want to get rid of yet. And I know that if I give up my shield there and I throw in good timing, I will reach 2 more X-Scissors before they reach their next Rock Slide, which is fantastic because I will be able to get both of those shields back. So now both of us are shieldless. I do throw right away there because my opponent did have that a Rock Slide banked, and Charjabug does win CMP tie. So just in case my opponent decided to throw right away, I wanted to get that X-Scissor off to guarantee that shield. And unfortunately here, I get 1 turn bring-in lag, so I get denied an entire Bullet Seed, meaning that I get to my Rock Slide on the CMP to their next Rock Slide, which I end up losing, where if I don't get that 1 turn bring-in lag, I would have reached this Rock Slide before they reached that, not had to take the damage, which is a little frustrating because that could be massive depending on what they have in the back. Fortunately, it doesn't matter in this matchup since they have a Shadow Charizard and Rock Slide, bang, goodbye. But you know, like just in general, it's just so frustrating how often it happens and the impact it does have on games. GG's to my opponent there. Gastrodon Lead, swap into Credilli. That ended up being a 4-1 set. So now we're into the next one, looking to clutch that 4-1 set again to hit expert rank. I swap into my Credilli and my opponent's staying on the Gastrodon. And I'm a little confused because if you have a Gastrodon Lead, you kind of have to have a good answer to Credilli, right? But my opponent stayed in, went for the Earth Power, which we got the right shield correctly, and now they bring in a Kingdra. Honestly, I feel like they probably, even though it's still an advantageous matchup for the Credilli here, I feel like they would have been best bringing that Kingdra in right away, just so they didn't take all that bullet seed damage onto their Gastrodon. Now they come in with a Talonflame, and this is the power of Credilli. Your opponent disrespects Credilli, they're just going to have a tough time at it. I do hard swap out of there because I wasn't going to reach another move, and I didn't want to give my opponent more farm considering I have a Gastrodon and a Charjabug, which doesn't like moves from the Talonflame. And here I'm like, okay, Gastrodon comes back in. I can chip it with the X-Scissor, put it in Mud Slap downrange, or even just survive the Earth Power to then take it out and get off a move, knowing very well that Gastrodon does not get one shot by a Brave Bird. So they've thrown 4 Incinerates, and a Brave Bird will just barely not KO a Gastrodon if you have a decently to higher ranked one. They need 5 Incinerates and then a Brave Bird to KO. As you'll see there, we hang on with 1 HP, and my opponent's Talon does go down. GG's. Next battle, Charjabug into Toxapex. We know this matchup. Good matchup for the Charjabug. Here, my opponent swaps out into a Credilli, and as a 4-turn user against a 3-turn user that is swapping into you, throwing your move right away is on good timing, since for them, it takes 1 turn to swap. So we do throw that X-Scissor right away. Does massive damage to the Credilli, and now we can pivot into our own Credilli here. I'm going for the Grass Knot just because Rock Slide won't KO from here. Grass Knot will, Rock Slide won't, and I don't want my opponent to no shield it and then get off another move. So we're gonna either force the shield from them or get the KO. Now here they go for a Grass Knot. I know I can survive it and then go for what they would now be in Rock Slide range, but my opponent decides to preserve their Credilli, come in back with their Toxapex, and oh, we have a fantastic surprise for that Toxapex and the Gastrodon, giving it nowhere to go, and we're gonna load up on a ton of energy here. With that little Rock Slide's worth of chip, I can go for the Body Slam here, and then Mud Slap it down before they reach another Brine, which is fantastic. The perfect farm down, and they have a Jump Bluff. I throw the Earth Power out of habit, thinking, oh, Credilli's coming in. I need to go for the Earth Power to KO it. That's really just a dumb play by me. I should have paid more attention and been more conscious of what was going on there, as the triple resisted Earth Power goes into the Jump Bluff and does absolutely nothing. So I am going to preserve that Gastrodon for later, come into my Charjabug and just start spamming off these X-Scissors. Fortunately, even with that Earth Power catch, this match is still heavily in our favor because Charjabug can close out from here, especially with both of those shields. I do let both of those aces through because Rock Slide will do more. And at this point, I realized, you know what? I actually don't even need my Charjabug around anymore. I can just come into my Credilli, reach a Rock Slide, and then Gastrodon's not in Bullet Seed downrange. So I can just come in, throw one more Mud Slap or reach the Body Slam. This won't quite KO, but the preceding Mud Slap after will. And that is a 2 shield flex for the second one in the set. GG's. Next battle, we lead Charjabug into Morpeko. Good lead, kinda, as it is pretty bait dependent on our Morpeko's part, even though we can hit for super effective with the X-Scissor. As we'll see here, My opponent does load up on energy, allows to fire off the X-Scissor first. This will get a shield from them. And now here, I'm gonna let this go. If it's a electric type or wheel, it's resisted, not worried about it. It's most likely the Psychic's Fangs, which it is. And now, the reason why I say that is because this is where the bait game happens. I respect the dark type or wheel. It's another Psychic's Fangs bait, and that feels so bad. Here I undertap the X-Scissor because I need to throw it right away. Otherwise, they would reach another move, which obviously I don't want to happen. They come with Jump Bluff to catch that X-Scissor, and that's perfectly fine because I need to throw an X-Scissor at the Jump Bluff anyways, since 2 Rock Slides don't quite KO a Jump Bluff. So we do tank the Energy Ball, fire off this Rock Slide. Does hit the Jump Bluff. They're going to be firing off another Energy Ball here. I don't want to give up my final shield because that Morpeko is loaded, and I do want to save my shields for it. Gonna overfarm here as much as I can before a potential Aerial Ace, then fire off the next Rock Slide to KO the Jump Bluff, which it does. My opponent lets it go. They come in with Morpeko, and I decide to hard pivot out of here and combo play with the Charjabug to force their final shield, as well as save my Credilli for something in the back that it could be pretty useful against. And now here I give up a shield, and again, I'm gonna undertap the move because if I throw another Volt Switch, they could CMP tie me to another Psychic's Fangs, which would boosted will probably KO, and they catch it on an Emolga. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you wait that turn to see that fast move animation come through. That's a pretty crippling catch right there, but I still have a win con, which is just Gastrodon putting in work here. Like, all's not said and done, but it definitely made this end game a lot tougher. They're going to fire off an Acrobatics here, and I need to be mindful of that Morpeko because it's 2 off a move. So once it comes in, I throw that Mud Slap, I throw a move, and this is the game-losing mistake. I'm pretty sure that Morpeko was in Body Slam range, where if I go for the Body Slam there and KO the Morpeko, I can just stay in with the Gastrodon and get to another Body Slam to take out the Emolga. But because I went for that Earth Power, I needed to try to make a catch onto my Gastrodon to win. I fail that catch, and my opponent overfarms perfectly to only be 1 Thundershock away from reaching the game-winning Aerial Ace. GG's there. Really well played to my opponent. Next battle, Shadow Gyarados Lead. Fantastic Lead. Did they safe swap into a Morpeko? And I don't have a good answer for this. You may think Gastrodon's a good answer, but in this cup, it's a 50-50 call as to whether the opposing Morpeko is running Seed Bomb or not. And Seed Bomb from Morpeko basically just one-shots Gastro. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay in. I'm going to tank their move, force a shield with the Discharge. And then once I force that shield with the Discharge, I'm going to bring in Gastrodon and just call that they don't have Seed Bomb. If they don't have Seed Bomb, you're golden. If they do have Seed Bomb, that's okay, because they have a Shadow Gyarados Lead. And I don't, even though Charjabug destroys Shadow Gyarados, I'm thinking to myself, I don't need switch advantage here. I just want that shield advantage of some sort or an energy lead of some sort, because Credilli has access to super effective Rock Slides. And just like with a Talonflame or a Shadow Charizard, that Rock Slide is basically going to one-shot it. So with this energy lead, we will outpace to our second Rock Slide before they reach 2 Aqua Tails. And that's just GG's, considering that they have a Gastrodon in the back. So I will give up a shield to that Aqua Tail, overfarm as much as possible before they reach that second Aqua Tail, just so I'll be able to outpace the Gastrodon to a Grass Knot. Rock Slide does KO, in comes the Gastro, and we do reach that Grass Knot before they reach a potential Earth Power. And this will absolutely obliterate the poor Gastro, and that is a good game. GG's. So we are now 3-1 in the set, going into the final match, looking for that 4-1, as we get a fantastic lead of Charjabug into Serperior. These Volt Switches are resisted, but X-Scissor does hit for super effective damage, which is very nice considering for my opponent, their Vine Whips are resisted and they can only hit for neutral with the Aerial Ace. So X-Scissor does massive damage to the Serperior, and I have to throw right away here as it would be on the CMP tie to their second Aerial Ace, of which my opponent just lets go. They bring in a Talonflame, and that's fine by me. I throw after 3 Volt Switches here, you know, 12 turns versus 3 Incinerates, which is 15 turns. Not the best timing, but that's the best timing I can make happen there if I wanted to get off that move without being incinerated down. Now I'm going to hard pivot into my Credilli because I don't want to give the Talon more energy. They're going to pivot out into a Morpeko, and I'm going for the Grass Knot, right? I don't want to go for the Rock Slide. I want to go for the Grass Knot, the harder hitting move to punish a no shield, knowing that if my opponent does no shield it, I can just Bullet Seed down. Or even if they do, or not necessarily Bullet Seed down, but get them so extremely low that even if they do shield it, I can go for another Grass Knot to do some massive damage there. And now that I have the shield left onto my Credilli, I can just make sure I throw on good timing. Rock Slide will force their final shield, and now I'm only 1 Bullet Seed off another Rock Slide, of which they're not quite at a move yet, so we can take it out with a Rock Slide. And even if they were at the move there, we still would have been able to clean up, as we saw before, a Brave Bird does not one-shot the Gastrodon. And down goes that Talon as we pick up the 4-1 set, as well as bringing us to 2754 for the expert rank. So if you're still looking for a strong team in the Color Cup, feel free to try this one out and hopefully it can get the job done for you like it did for me. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Love to hear what you have to say. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.